Do you ever find yourself dragging throughout the day, feeling constantly tired, and like everything that you do just requires so much effort? You know you need rest, so maybe you go to bed early or maybe sleep in, but then you wake up the next day and just feel the same. Or maybe you decide it's a vacation you need to get away from everything. But you get away for the weekend, come back, and on Monday morning, nothing has changed. The thing is, I think that a lot of us experience fatigue and then just go to one of those two solutions as the answer to the problem that we're facing. But sleep and rest are not the same thing. Vacation and rest are not the same thing. They're just parts of a bigger picture. According to Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith's theory of rest, we need to have a more holistic view of what rest actually looks like in order to be able to treat the root cause of our fatigue. In fact, she argues that one of the primary reasons that so many of us are chronically burned out isn't the fact that we aren't taking time to rest, but rather that we aren't getting the right kind of rest that we need. And so today I want to dive in and talk about, okay, how do we change that? So first, we'll look at each of the 7 different types of rest that Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith outlines. We'll talk about what it looks like and how to tell if you have a deficit in that area. And then we'll talk through how you can use these categories to reduce feelings of exhaustion or overwhelm and to experience more holistic rest. All right, and with that in mind, I'm excited to dive into each one of these 7 types of rest. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button below for more simple and intentional living videos coming at you twice a week. But now let's get started with our first type of rest, and that's physical rest. And physical rest is all about taking care of your body, making sure that you're giving yourself the time and space that your body needs to rejuvenate. And some signs that you might not be getting enough physical rest can include always feeling tired throughout the day, but having a difficult time falling or staying asleep at night, a reliance on substances throughout the day, whether that's consuming too much coffee, energy drinks, or sugar. And it can often look like soreness and muscle pain too. And to engage in physical rest, there are really 2 key components to it. You have passive rest and active rest. So for passive rest, you have things like sleeping or napping. And then for active rest, you have things like stretching, maybe doing yoga or going for a walk. So to engage in better passive rest, to make the most of the time that you spend asleep, a few things that you can do are to have a consistent bedtime, to use temperature control and to try to set the temperature a little bit lower, as that's shown to help you to sleep a bit better. You can also make sure that you're not consuming caffeine or food right before you're trying to go to bed. And then having a wind down routine can also be incredibly helpful too, as it helps just mentally signal to your brain to start getting ready for sleep. As someone who for several years really struggled with falling asleep at night, those are all things that I found to be incredibly helpful. And then for active rest, there are so many possibilities here, but a few ideas could include just starting to stretch a little bit before going to bed or right as soon as you get up, just to get out some of the kinks from your previous night's sleep. Maybe you want to start a bit of a yoga practice and just making sure that you're relieving any stress that you might be holding in your body. Or maybe you want to start going for leisurely walks throughout the day. And a quick note, with all of these, I want to give you some ideas to get started, but keep in mind that you can pick and choose what's going to be most restorative to you. The whole point of this is that rest isn't a one-size-fits-all thing, so feel free to adapt each of these ideas to what's going to work for you and your lifestyle. All right, but then our second type of rest is mental rest. And I think the easiest way to kind of picture this one is just to think about, okay, what percentage capacity is my brain at right now? Do I feel like I have margin and space to think about new thoughts and ideas, or are you operating at max capacity and just the idea of one more thing to add to your schedule, another responsibility or checklist item really stresses you out? For a lot of people, not getting enough mental rest often translates to your thoughts just running wild right as you're trying to fall asleep. Many often find themselves ruminating on thoughts of the past or the future throughout the day. You might feel a bit of mental fog or even just feel like you're always a little bit irritable. If any of those sound familiar to you, number 1, you're not alone. I've definitely been there. But then number 2, a few things that you can do are to take short breaks throughout the day. Not filled with stimulation, but in as much as possible, distraction-free so that you can give yourself a chance to process. You can also try quieting your mind through meditation, practicing gratitude, journaling, or even just writing down your thoughts right before going to bed. And honestly, those last 2 really are a bit of a secret weapon for me. There's something about physically writing things down that helps just signal to our brains, it's okay, I don't need to carry this weight, and it can help to lighten our mental load. It's like by writing things down, we're able to tell our brains, it's okay, we're taking care of this, we're on top of it. Okay, and then the third type of rest is emotional rest. And this one is all about having a place that you can express and share your feelings, as well as making sure that you have emotionally healthy boundaries with others. And what it can often look like when we're not getting enough emotional rest is we can experience excessive worry, anxiety, self-doubt. Maybe you're a constant people pleaser, or maybe you find yourself bearing heavy emotional burdens either for yourself or someone else that you're either trying to suppress or just not work through properly. And so to experience deep emotional rest, there are a few big things that you can do. And I think for me, one of the biggest is to authentically share your feelings. So just open up and share what you're going through with a close friend, a therapist, or maybe even just journal through it. But then a couple other things you can do is number one, limit comparisons. I love the quote by Theodore Roosevelt that goes, "Comparison is the thief of joy." Those words ring so true. And when we're talking about emotional rest, emotional peace, that really has a direct impact. And then finally, another big one is to cut back on people pleasing. If there are people in your life who are always making asks of you while offering very little in return, try doing what you can to limit your interaction with those people and environments. This is a personal opinion, but I'm very rarely in favor of completely cutting people out of your life. But that being said, I am a big fan of having strong emotional boundaries, especially if you know yourself to be just kind of a natural people pleaser. So just try to think through if there might be some boundaries that maybe you need to put into place. But then moving on, the fourth type of rest is social rest. And this one is all about that idea that certain relationships are going to fill us up to give us energy in life, while others are going to actually take energy away from us and drain us. So the goal with this one is to invest in relationships that are going to fill up our emotional cup so that we can then pour into others. So if you find that you're engaging in way too much or too little social interaction, or simply failing to differentiate from those relationships that fill you up versus those that drain you, you might be in need of social rest. But fortunately, finding social rest is actually pretty straightforward. You just want to be very intentional about spending time with life-giving people who are going to help to restore your social energy. And whether you'd consider yourself more extroverted or introverted, this really is so important because even though we do have different social capacity, we are all designed to be relational beings. None of us are going to operate as our best selves living in complete isolation. So maybe that means that you need to deepen a few key relationships in your life, or spend more time with family and close friends. You know, it really is true that as people relationally pour into us, it increases our capacity to be able to give attention, energy, and love to others. Okay, then the fifth type of rest may not be one that you've heard of before. That's sensory rest. This one really ties back to the idea that in our modern world, there's stimulation everywhere. The sights, the sounds, the smells, it's a lot, and sometimes our five senses just need a break. And honestly, this is one that we're probably all stretching ourselves to the limits with, whether we realize it or not. Whether it's the bright light from your phone or computer, traffic noise from down the street, or the constant sound of music or podcasts playing through your earbuds, our lives are often filled with constant stimulation, and sometimes we just need to take a step back and to turn off the noise. So to engage in sensory rest, one of the biggest things that you can do is to spend time away from screens. No phone, no computer, no TV, no distractions. And use that time to get in nature, to read a book, or just to enjoy some peace and quiet. And one small way that you can do this throughout your day is if for work you tend to stare at screens for a long time, just every so often take a break and close your eyes for 1 minute. That's going to reduce a lot of the strain that your eyes experience when staring at screens. And it's just a very short amount of time where your mind can just kind of relax and just enjoy a bit of sensory deprivation, which honestly I know might sound a bit funny, but it is honestly so peaceful and relaxing. So I'd really encourage you to think through what are some ways that you might be able to incorporate sensory rest into your daily routine, because I think it's really one category of rest, one type of rest that most of us aren't getting enough of. Okay, then we've got two left here. Number 6 is creative rest. Before you write this one off thinking, oh, I'm just not a creative person, this one really has nothing to do with being an artist, a musician, or anything like that. It's about your ability to be able to creatively problem solve and to think outside outside the box. And so whatever field you might work in or whatever passions you might have, if you find yourself feeling stuck in it, like you're out of good ideas, you might not be getting enough creative rest. And so to refill and to recharge yourself creatively, one of the biggest things that you can do is just to appreciate beauty and to put yourself in inspiring environments just because. Get out in nature, visit a local art museum, go see a play, or decorate your home. Do the things that are going to inspire you, have fun, and just get lost in them. There's something about leaning into our passions that actually fuels our creativity across the board. And so if one of your passions is for travel, this is actually one area where going on vacation and getting outside of your everyday environment can actually be incredibly filling. I know that's true for me at least, especially when I'm going somewhere where I'm experiencing a new culture or just an environment I've never been in before. I always come back just so filled with amazing ideas and just a refreshed perspective on life. All right, but then let's wrap this up with our seventh and final type of rest, and that's spiritual rest. And this one is really all about being connected to your meaning and purpose in life. And so if you find yourself feeling disconnected from life, searching for meaning, or lacking focus or purpose, you might be in need of some spiritual rest. And obviously this one, depending on your personal beliefs, can look like a lot of different things. But for me, as a Christian, it looks like bringing my burdens to God, finding meaning and significance in His love for me, and finding comfort and rest in the fact that He is unchanging and faithful and good. You know, in talking about spiritual rest, I'm always reminded of Jesus' words in Matthew 11 when He says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly of heart, and you will find rest for your souls." You know, those words really do bring me so much encouragement, and I found it to be so true in my own life. And so personally for me, that's what it looks like to find spiritual rest. But whether you're a Christian or not, I really encourage you to think through how you can find hope and joy and meaning in your everyday life. Okay, so those are the 7 different types of rest. And what I'd encourage you to do next is to engage in a bit of self-analysis and reflection. Sit down with a pen and a piece of paper and ask yourself, how am I doing creatively, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and just go through that list. Write your answers down and then follow it up by asking yourself, what is one practical thing that you can do in each of those areas to rest better? And then from there, take your answers and start experimenting. Find rhythms of rest that work for you, your body, and your schedule. And just keep in mind too that as you move through various seasons of life, these will change. So just commit to checking in with yourself every so often to make sure that you're continuing to nurture your body and to give yourself the rest you need. All right, well, that's everything for today's video, but now I'd love to know, what is the one area of rest that you're most in need of right now? And what are you going to change or start doing to get it? I'd love to know what that is, so be sure to let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already for more simple and intentional living videos coming at you twice a week. Thanks so much for watching, friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!